Want to win brisket at your next cook-off? Let me show you how to take that 20-pound packer down to this smooth 180 trim. That's what it needs to look like right there. Okay, so the whole goal here is to make sure this thing is flat and even. On this end it's thin, and on the other end it's thick. And so I'm just going to slide my knife across there. And what I'm looking for is to just take that hump off of it, that ridge. I want to take that off of there. You see it's mostly fat, but that's going to take most of the bicycle ramp out of this brisket and make it to where it's going to lay flat and cook a lot more evenly because it's a more even thickness from one end to the other. It's a little thin right there where I didn't trim the fat, but that's okay. We're going to take most of that off. As you can see, my fingers are about the width of that KCBS box. And so I'm going to start a little wider because I can't put it back after I take it off. As you can see, I'm a little outside my fingers. I use my fingers a lot just to make sure I can visualize that cut where that box is. Now I'm taking the oxidized edge off of it right now. I don't want that on there. And then I'm going to remeasure and look and see where my thick end is. And I'm going to justify my cut over to where I've got my thick side left on there. And I'm going to cut more of the thin side off. So as I'm trimming it down, I do that to make sure I'm cutting the thin side down and not the thick side. So you can see I'm continuing to level out the edges of that brisket so that they're nice and level. Now, check my size again. I can go ahead. I'm sure I'm good now because I know where my thick and my thin is. And I'm going to take that extra little piece off, getting down to my size. And I'm going to come back over, and now I can take it off this other side. Oop, double check. You can't put it back. Now I'm going to take that one whole side off of there. Yeah, it shouldn't hurt your feelings. That's better, in grind or in a pot or bolognese or something like that anyway. So check your thickness. So I'm going to square that off. I'm looking for as many slices as I can get out of this trim. I'd like to be able to get about 15 out of one this size. So you can see there's my thick side, there's my thin side. I'm going to go ahead and take this end off of it. Remember, I'm maximizing my number of slices. That's what I'm looking for here. I want as many slices from one end to the other as I can get. And so I'm going to take this end off of it. And that's just going to give me a little bit of a buffer to where when I cut the end of it off, if that part's overdone, it's not going to matter. And as I start getting into the full box width slices, that's where I want it perfect. And so I'm going to have a little on each end that culls, but not much. Now I'm just going to go in and take this little bit of nasty slimy fat off of there, but not much. Now we're going to start laying that knife parallel and just shaving it down to get a lot of this excess fat and silver skin off of the top here. It's going to take you some time. Just take your time. Make sure your knife is super sharp. As you can see, you don't want to do as little sawing action as possible. You want to pull that knife and let it do the work so you get good, clean, even cuts across the top of that. As you can see, I'm kind of planing the top of that down to make sure it's nice and even so I get a really smooth texture to my bark of the brisket once it's finished. So everything we're thinking about here with the end in mind to make sure that we've got a nice, finished, barked up top on our brisket slice. And that's what we're doing by planing the top of this down. And that long knife helps you get a good even cut all the way across that. And now you can see you've got a really nice looking brisket flat from one end to the other. You got a little bit of that point on the bottom, and we're radiusing our edges now. So we're taking our scissors and rounding that edge. By rounding the edge, those edges aren't going to break off when you slice it near as easily. 90 degrees is going to overcook and crumble, and that radius edge is not going to do that. So once we're done with that, hey, that dude is just about ready to go. Look at that. Money. Into the Backmaster we go. Going to seal it down. We've got all of our brisket trim for a bolognese or for some ground, some burgers, anything later on. And our flat is vacuum sealed and ready to go into the cooler so that we can throw it in there and not worry about it getting waterlogged or anything. So there you go.